Many of us are misusing our struggle when it comes to our weight and the health of our body and how we interact with food and our bodies. And I want to explain to you why that is. I'm going to hit screen share and share with you. This is, I like to use the triune brain theory by Paul McDonald. And this is an old school brain theory. And we know a lot more about the brain than what this theory talks about. But this theory is still very good when it comes to conceptualizing and applying what we do know about the brain. Just understand that this is conceptual and that the brain is much more interconnected and complex than what I'm about to share. So there's different parts of the brain, okay, according to Paul McDonald. If you look at this side view of the brain, this diagram, you see the tan and the green part. The tan and the green part is your neocortex. This is the top part of your brain. The green part in the front, this is your prefrontal lobes, or right here is your prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain that is the executive functioning part of the brain. This is the part where you are weighing out choices, where you're making decisions, where, right, it's your conscious thinking divine self right here is in the front of your brain. The blue part is the limbic or emotional system part of your brain. And then the brain stem, the red part that you see there, is the survival state of your brain. So the blue and the red part I call the lower brain. Now, the lower brain is the survival obsessed part of the brain. It's always asking, am I safe? Am I safe? The limbic system's always asking, am I loved? Am I acceptable? Am I accepted in the tribe? And then up here in your executive functioning, your conscious true thinking self, it's always looking, what can I create? What can I do? What should I do? What am I learning? Those types of things. If you're worried about your safety, it's very hard for you to be thinking up here in your conscious self about what you can create if you're worried about where your next meal is going to come from or that you're in danger. Here's the thing is that your brain is hardwired for survival. Your lower brain is a big part of keeping you alive in this survival response. Here's the thing, though, is that your lower brain does not have the ability to have rational thought, meaning it does some things to keep you safe that aren't actually doing the thing of keeping you safe. It's actually not helping you in going where you want to go. So sometimes this lower brain, because it's lacking the ability to reason, it can be a bit like a toddler. It can act like a toddler, can do things as a toddler without the ability to reason. And it makes sense because a toddler brain isn't fully developed. The prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until somewhere in the mid-20s. So just know that, okay? I talk about how you are not your body, but that your body is your holy vessel that houses you. Not only are you not your body, but you are also not this lower brain, hardwiring, survival obsessed part of your brain. You, Eckhart Tolle would say, you are not all your thinking. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. However, you're experiencing them. So what I encourage my clients to do is to start becoming the watcher of their brain. Let me stop the screen share here. I want you to be the watcher of your brain. Be the watcher of your thoughts, okay? Not only are you not your body, but you're also not all your thoughts. And as you become the watcher of your thoughts, I encourage you to be an effective watcher, to be a good, even scientist. You have to put the shame and judgment aside and just observe what goes on in your head. You have struggled with your relationship with your body, how you feel about your body, and with food, because you've believed this lower brain for so long. The majority of your thoughts are automated in your lower brain thinking. So if you, from the time, many of my clients, and perhaps you listening, from the time that you were very young, have thought that maybe there was sense that there was something wrong with your body, or that it wasn't enough. And that in order to get your body or get yourself to be enough, you needed to be smaller. And the way to do that was to diet. And therefore, diet mentality is born and nuanced all within our culture. Here's the problem with that, is that sometimes we can get these thoughts in our brains, such as, I need to be more like this, or I'm out of control with food, right? All these different thoughts. But what's interesting is that once you have a thought, you're going to create more evidence to support that thought. And let me show you what I mean. It's called a thought loop, is that your brain likes to create evidence from your actions to create what it originally is thinking. Therefore, it supports more of the same. If you think that you cannot be trusted with food, if you have that thought, it's going to create an emotion of distrust or worry or anxiety. And when you're in that type of emotion, what are the actions that you're likely to do from those type of actions? Where you're likely to overeat or you're likely to be nervous around food. And when you act in these ways, it creates more evidence for your brain to believe that you can't be trusted around food. Therefore, the thought begets more of the same thinking. If you want to think something new, or if you want to create a new result in your life, you have to create a new thought. And you have to intentionally create evidence to support that new thought to create a new result. Now, lots of people who struggle with body and food think that their struggle is something that they need to overcome in order to get to where they want to be in their lives. I want to tell you that you've been thinking about this wrong. In order to become who you want to be, you have to accept that what is presently current in your life is exactly what it needs to be. Many of my clients think as soon as I can get this struggle with food and body figured out, then I can finally feel settled, or I can finally be happy, or I can finally feel relief. I tell you, I promise you that in this life, there will always be something. Because how many of you have actually lost weight and then you get there and then you know what happens? You're worried about staying there. And then pretty soon you start gaining the weight back. That happens over 90% of the time when people are in diet mentality. So if you want to lose weight permanently, you have to stop thinking in terms of diet mentality, meaning that somehow the better life is waiting for you on the other side of the struggle. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. My belief is that we are here on this earth in the realm of creation, traveling through time, specifically for our experience and our growth and our expansion. And if you can continually reject your struggle with food as evidence that there's something wrong with you, well, then it will keep you damned or keep you from growing because of that struggle. So I want you to realize that this lower brain thinking that exists in your head exists for your benefit, expansion, and growth and progress. And how do you start to get this lower brain thinking not to be in control? You have to start watching it with curiosity, acknowledging, oh, that's just lower brain thinking. I have an analogy for you. I'm going to hit screen share again. So this higher brain prefrontal cortex, conscious thinking is your true self. The lower brain is your primal brain. It's what everybody's body has. It's the hardwired programming to keep you alive. It's also it's where all of the thoughts that you've been taught all throughout your life that are now have become automated are in your thinking. Because diet mentality is so nuanced throughout our culture, most of us, especially women, have a lot of nuance interwoven of diet culture within our subconscious thinking. Okay. That is not who we are. Not only that, but we're not our body. So look at this cute little VW bug. I want you to think of your true higher self, the part of you that's listening to me and the part of me that's speaking to you right now. We're in our conscious thinking true self. That is the person, your true self belongs behind the wheel of the car. And the car represents your body. It's your vessel. It's how you travel. It's how you get from point A to point B. It's how you move throughout time. And that lower brain thinking, for so long, you've been confused thinking that irrational thoughts are you. That's your lower brain. And it's a lot like a toddler. It belongs in the back seat in a child car, 5-point harness car seat. Okay. The problem is that for so long, you've allowed the toddler to get behind the wheel and it's wreaked havoc in your life. And then you've blamed yourself saying, oh, I'm so out of control with food. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'll never get past the struggle. If I can finally get my body to release weight, then I'll finally be settled. Then I'll finally feel relief. That's a lie. You have to first figure out your head. You have to first start to create a division between your true higher thinking self and this lower brain thinking. And as you watch yourself, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of curiosity and compassion, you will begin to notice the difference between the thoughts that are lower brain and the thoughts that are your true higher self. You can actually trust you. The part of you that desires to be fully in control with food and love your body is the reflection of your true divine self. The part of you that exists before this life and after this life. That's your spiritual being, who you actually truly are. And this lower brain thinking that you thought was you for so long that you've been shaming and judging yourself for is actually just the lower brain programming that everybody's brain has that has been influenced by diet culture in our society. That's it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, if you reject this struggle, meaning the struggle is keeping you from where the struggle with food or body is keeping me from being where I really want to be. I want you to notice behind me that up on that shelf there's an and sign. Many of us use the word but in our thoughts and in our speech. Like, I'm really happy in my life, or things are going good in my life, or I'm doing okay, but I really got to get this food thing under control. I've really got to lose this weight. And when you say the but, it tends to cancel out how great things are going. I went on a walk or a hike with a friend a few days ago, and she had gained some weight during COVID. And she said, I just want to feel settled. And I'm like, so how will you feel settled? If I can get the weight off, then I can feel settled. And as we talked, we realized that wasn't even true, because once she got the weight off, she would be worried about keeping the weight off. She would never really fully feel settled. And as we talked, she realized that, well, there's a lot of great things going on in her life. So great that these things are great, but these things are great, and I still would like to release some weight. When we use the word and to replace but, it allows us to keep in perspective what we're actually doing. Is that we're not defined, our life is not defined by the state of our body, by the food we put in our mouth. We are a whole, complete, worthy human being now, and we desire to have a healthy place with our relationship with food in our body and, where our weight is at. It's an and, not a but. All right. Thank you so much. And like and subscribe if you want to receive more of these. Let me stop screen share here real quick. I want you to know that this lower brain exists as a great part of this traveling throughout the realm of time. As we exert our true divine selves and separate it from this lower primal brain thinking, that's a big part of expanding and growing as a spiritual being having a human experience. Your struggle does not exist because there's anything wrong with you. Your struggle exists because it's specifically part of your growth and expansion as a spiritual being having a human experience.